Thanks to Jesus, we are on the winning side. Do you believe in ghosts? Recently I read a story about ghost hunters who claim that they can detect the presence of these strange creatures. Several years ago, the Calgary Herald reported that a hotel in the area was haunted. At least 2 rooms were inhabited with unseen visitors who made their presence known to the guests. Now, I was staying at the hotel, and when the opportunity came for us to take a tour of the hotel, we took it, and we were taken to the downstairs cafeteria. There was a stairwell covered with potted plants. This stairwell, said our guide, is haunted. She went on to say that when the hotel was first built and a wedding took place there, the bride fell down the stairs and died, and now her ghost appears. In fact, we could ask the people who worked in the cafeteria, and they would verify that this young woman appears from time to time. How do we explain this phenomenon? Recall that when Jesus cast the demons out of the demented man, they requested permission to enter the swine, and Jesus granted their request.
They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an evil spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain, for he had often been chained hand and foot. But he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Swear to God that you won't torture me!" But Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you evil spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied. "We are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs! Allow us to go to them!" He gave them permission. And the evil spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned.
When a person who is inhabited by evil spirits dies, this spirit needs to relocate. This seems particularly true in the case of a violent death, such as murder or suicide. These spirits will then take the name of the person and imitate the characteristic of the deceased, and occasionally make appearances under these pretenses. Now, such entities, as they are frequently called, are actually evil spirits who pose as friendly ghosts. You see, this explains why mediums who contact the dead are actually speaking to evil spirits who impersonate the deceased. Understandably, the Bible calls these spirits familiar spirits because they are familiar with the person they have adopted.
Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Saul had expelled the mediums and the spiritists from the land.
Thus, the medium is deceived into thinking that communication has actually taken place with the dead, not knowing that he or she has encountered a spirit who knew the dead. Incredibly, a television show titled Crossing Over now ensnares millions with the mistaken idea that contact has been achieved because the medium does in fact conjure up information that was true about the deceased.
Welcome to Crossing Over. I'm John Edward. You've all watched as I delivered messages from the other side to those in the gallery. But what happens when there are additional messages for someone who was not in the studio that day? Well, that's exactly what happened in the session you're about to see, when a mom with a lot to say came through to her 3 daughters. But she wasn't about to leave out her other daughter who wasn't able to make it. So the 3 daughters became the mediums that delivered messages to the other family members at home. As you know from watching the show, the messages that come through in the gallery often include those who weren't in the studio that day. This is exactly what happened in the gallery session you just saw with the family our producers affectionately refer to as the Iguana family. In this story, an unusual reference to a reptile is one mother's way of reaching out to the daughter that was not in the studio. Take a look at the follow-up with the 3 sisters who sat in the gallery and the one sister whose mother on the other side refused to leave her out of the process. Your mom's nest? Okay, because they said I've got mom coming through. But can we call her the queen? Because I just feel like, she just walked in as like people should be throwing roses as she's walking.
Yeah. When she came through as the queen, I knew it was her because that was her personality.
When she walked into a room, you knew she was there.
My mother's life revolved around her kids. After she divorced my dad, she never dated anybody else.
She wanted the best that she could for her family, and she made sure, by hook or by crook, that she was going to do it.
She was also a very strong person as far as protecting her family and trying to make sure that we had everything and that she was there for us when we needed her.
She's telling me that she's so happy to be with her sister because she's got a female that's with her that she's claiming to be her sister.
I think I almost fell out of my chair. About 2 weeks before our trip to New York, I remember clearly saying to Diane, the only thing I really want to know is that our mother is with Aunt Helen, her sister, and that she's happy.
Relatives rest with the false hope that their loved one is trying to tell them that he or she is doing fine, when in point of fact, they might actually be suffering in Hades.
There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. In hell, where he was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away, with Lazarus by his side. So he called to him, "Father Abraham, have pity on me, and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I am in agony in this fire." But Abraham replied, "Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, while Lazarus received bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. And besides all this, between us and you a great chasm has been fixed, so that those who want to go from here to you cannot, nor can anyone cross over from there to us." He answered, "Then I beg you, Father, send Lazarus to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them, so that they will not also come to this place of torment." Abraham replied, "They have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them." "No, Father Abraham," he said, "but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent." He said to him, "If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced even if someone rises from the dead."